All right. Hey, gorgeous humans, and welcome. It has been a minute since I have gone live like this, and I am super fired up today because this training is going to change the way that you see your content and how your audience responds to you. So, today we are diving into how to turn stealth scrollers into buyers with three simple content shifts. Now, those lurkers, you know the ones that I'm talking about. Those 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 ones reading your posts. They're opening your emails. They're watching your stories on mute in bed at 11 p.m. But they're not liking and they're not commenting and they're definitely not buying, right? So, by the end of the session, you are going to know exactly how to flip the switch so that those silent watchers go from just curious to, how do I pay you? So if you are joining me live, say hey in the comments and tell me where you are watching from. And of course, if you are on replay, hit me up with hashtag replay. I always circle back to connect. But fair warning, this is not going to be fluffy, just show up and be visible kind of pep talk. Okay. This is going to be one of the most value packed free trainings that you've ever been on. You are probably going to leave thinking, why the hell is she giving all this away for free? So I suggest that you grab a notebook because you are going to want to implement this today. All right. You are going to be getting actionable shifts that have helped my clients close 3K, 5K, even 10K sales without adding more posts, more freebies, or more effort. Okay. So stick around because we are going deep and I am pulling back the curtain on the exact shifts that my clients are using to move from invisible to irresistible, turn lurkers into holy shit, where's the buy button buyers, and to transform those sneaky or leaky funnels into revenue machines. So by the time that we are done today, you are going to know the three simple shifts that turn the people silently watching your stories, binging your posts, lurking in your inbox into actual paying clients. Okay. So today, we are going to cover the one shift that magnetizes buyers without needing more content, how to move them from surface level engagement to micro commitments that signal I'm ready. And we're also going to cover how to layer your content so that cold leads quietly move from maybe to I'm in. So if you are ready to light this up, drop me a fire in the chat right now. I want to know who is here for this. Okay, so real quick, in case we haven't met yet, I am Sam Rose, and for almost 2 decades, I have been the strategist behind some of the fastest scaling coaches, consultants, and service providers in the game. From scrappy first time launches to entrepreneurs that are breaking seven figures. And I help them go from stuck at sort of 5 to 10K months to 20 and 50K months and so on autopilot without endless launches, cold DMs, or living in discovery call hell, is what I like to call it. I've worked with over 2,000 entrepreneurs, I guess, over the last 20 years across various industries globally, helping them clean up messy offers, simplify chaotic sales systems, and scale with sanity. So, yeah. And if you're sitting there thinking, but I'm already posting, but I'm already showing up, and I'm already launching, why isn't it working? Well, honey, you are exactly who this training is for. So inside Cashflow Catalyst, we help close this gap, okay? But today you're getting a powerful, powerful starting point that you can apply immediately, okay? So let's talk about what is actually happening underneath the surface, right? Firstly, your audience does care, okay? And they are paying attention, but they're just not seeing you as the person that they should pay. Why? Well, because your content is signaling consume, not convert. So most of you are stuck in the consistency trap. Okay, you show up, you post daily, you stay visible, But consistency without the right buyer signals makes you consistently invisible. I did say that, yes. Sorry, somebody's just asking, why is your channel brand new if you have worked with so many people? What with your other accounts? This is a new YouTube account. I have never been on YouTube before, so that's why you're seeing this as a new account. But nice to have you here. And Team Persuasion, oh, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for joining. All right, guys, so today we are flipping the consistently invisible to just visible, right? We're upgrading your signals so that buyers can actually find you and say, hot damn, I need to work with her or him, right? Okay, so how do we actually do that? So we want to start with the first shift that makes your content go from forgettable to magnetic. That is the buyer signal shift. Now, the number one mistake that I see is people pouring their hearts into tips and hacks and carousel posts and how-to reels. And then, they're lying in bed at night and they're scrolling their own feed thinking, why the hell is nobody buying? What am I missing? What am I doing wrong? Right? So here's why. When your content is only focused on educating, you're training your audience to consume and not convert. So ultimately, you become their go-to binge, but not their coach, not their consultant, or the expert that they hire, right? They're thinking, ooh, I love their tips, not where's the checkout link, right? So let me know in the comments and be honest. Do you feel like you're giving away so much value, but it's not turning into sales? Drop me a me in the chat if that is hitting home. Now, you need to remember that people don't just buy information, right? They buy outcomes. They buy possibility. They buy belief. The belief that you get them, right? And that you have that roadmap, that you can shortcut their results and collapse their timeline because they are done wasting time, right? So I teach the full Ignite copy framework, which helps you to craft messaging that balances authority, connection, and conversion. And while we don't have time to dive into that full system today, I do want to give you a piece that you can apply right now. Firstly, stop only teaching how and start speaking to why it matters, right? Don't just explain the mechanics. Show them why it is urgent, why it matters to them, and what happens if they don't act. Okay. Next, you want to highlight the outcomes, not the instructions. Okay. So this is the shift from process to promise, from features to benefits, from steps to results. Okay. So let me give you some examples. So instead of saying 5 ways to communicate better with your partner, you could say something like how to end arguments in half the time and feel closer in just one conversation. Or instead of 3 tips to improve your resume, you can say 3 resume tweaks that helped clients land interviews at top companies. Or instead of how to save money each month, you could say something like how families save $500 a month without giving up their lifestyle. So do you feel the difference? One is helpful, but the other makes people pull out their credit card. So drop a yes in the comments if you are already rewriting one of your posts in your head right now, because I really hope that that is what's happening. All right, so what I want you to reflect on right now, and if you're brave, you can also drop it in the comments, but what is one piece of content that you've shared recently that was all kind of like how to? And how could you reframe that to speak to the outcome, right? So, for example, if you are a fitness coach, instead of how to improve your squat form, you could say something like how busy moms can add 50 pounds to their squat in 6 weeks without injury. Or if you are a wedding planner, instead of something like how to plan a wedding on a budget, you could say something like how couples are saving 5K on their dream wedding without sacrificing anything important. Right? So this is one of the very first upgrades that I make with clients. And It's wild how fast it flips. Because when you nail this, people start pitching themselves to you, right? You're no longer chasing, you're choosing, right? So, for example, one of my one on one clients rewrote 3 posts just using the shift. And within a week, she had a client DM her asking, how can we work together? No sales pitch needed, right? Another client applied the first 2 shifts and booked 3K clients within a week. No DMs, no hard pitch, none of that. So, can you feel how this works in your business, right? Imagine your inbox tomorrow when somebody slides in and says, oh, I've been watching you for weeks. How do we work together? So that's what happens when you shift from helpful to high converting. All right, so let's move to the next shift, right? Because once you get the signals right, the next challenge is then getting people to actually engage and take that next step, right? So let's get into that. Now that we have upgraded your signals, okay, we're moving to the second shift now, okay? And this is what really separates invisible content from the kind that quietly sells in, the back end, right? So the specificity shift is what moves from vague to, oh my God, that's me, okay? And here's what I mean by that. So when your content is too general, when you say things like feeling stuck or want to make more money or ready to live your best life, you're blending into the noise. Nobody stops their scroll to hear another generic, you can do it pep talk, right? But when you get specific, when you name the moment, the experience, or the thought inside their head, that's when people stop mid-scroll, eyes wide, and they whisper, holy crap, that's me. How do they know this? So specificity isn't just about the details, right? It's about making one person feel like you're inside of their head, even in a sea of thousands of messages. It tells your audience, hey, I understand your lived experience. I see the nuance that you're wrestling with, and I'm the person that can help you. So this is another one of those first upgrades that I help clients make, because once you dial this in, people start selling themselves even before you make an offer, right? Now, you're probably wondering, okay, Sam, how do I actually, do this in my own posts? Well, I'm going to break it down for you. Firstly, you want to name the real moment that they are in. We're not just looking for surface level statements like feeling overwhelmed in your business, right? Because that is super vague. And frankly, anybody could say that and it doesn't stop the scroll. But try this one. You're staring at your to-do list at 11 p.m., wondering how the hell you're going to pull off another launch next week. That hits, right? It paints a picture. It drops them into a moment that they've actually lived, and it makes them feel seen. So specificity snaps them out of that scroll trance, and suddenly they're no longer a passive lurker. They're leaning in. Their heart is racing and they're thinking, oh my God, she's talking to me. Okay. Secondly, you want to call out the thought in their head. And now this goes beyond just describing the situation, right? It taps into their inner dialogue. Not want a better relationship, right? You might say something more like, you're looking at the dishes piled up again, wondering if you have to remind him for the 10th time that day, and you can feel the screaming bubbling in your throat, right? See the difference? You're not guessing. You're reflecting back something that they've probably said to themselves, sometimes word for word, right? And that's when they start to feel like you're reading their mind. And then thirdly, you want to highlight the tiny detail that shows that you get it, right? And so this is where you zoom in on something small but emotionally charged, the little moment that creates that intimacy. So again, like not you want to save more money, right? But if you say something like, you open your banking app and you hold your breath and pray that you didn't overdraft again. It's not just saving money, right? It's that moment of anxiety that they feel in their body. That's what makes them think, she gets me, she's been there, she can help, right? So tell me in the comments, which one of these are you going to test in your next post? Because I want us to look at a few more examples so that this really lands for you. So instead of saying something like struggling with client management, you could say something like you're toggling between 37 Chrome tabs, rewriting that same onboarding email for the fourth time. Or instead of want to get in shape, you might say something more like you're gasping for air halfway up the stairs thinking, when did this get so freaking hard? Instead of need better time management, you might say, you keep moving the same tasks to tomorrow's list 5 days in a row, right? So you see how that lands? You can drop a mind-blown emoji if you're sitting there realizing that, this is probably why your last 5 posts have kind of flopped, and, how you're now going to go ahead and flip that script. So another client in the fitness space applied the specificity shift, and her comments exploded overnight with people saying, oh my God, I feel so seen. How do I get into your program? And guys, that is the power of these micro moments. So here's the real magic, right? Why does this flip the switch on quiet lurkers that you've been ignoring in your metrics? Well, specificity creates resonance, and resonance creates trust, and trust creates buyers who come to you already convinced. So here's what's happening underneath the surface, right? When somebody feels seen, they instinctively pay closer attention. And when they feel understood, they start to open up. And then when they believe that you get them better than anyone else, that's when they start selling themselves on you before you even make an offer. You don't need to cold DM them. You don't need to hard pitch them. You don't need to pull out all those scarcity tricks and bro marketing things, right? Because they're already whispering to themselves, well, if she gets me this deeply in a free post, for example, what the hell could she do for me in her program, right? So imagine your next post pulling in DMs like, I don't know why, but I can't stop reading your stuff. Do you offer coaching or, whatever your service is? That's what happens when you trade vague for vivid. So inside Cashflow Catalyst, we bake this into every single layer of your funnel, your opt-in pages, your nurture emails, your sales page, even your social media content, so that by the time someone lands on your offer, they're already thinking, where's the buy button? So it's not about being louder, right? It's about being sharper. It's about precision over volume. And when you master this, that's when you stop chasing and you start choosing. Okay, so once you've dialed in your specificity, here's the next challenge. How do you take that emotional connection and then turn it into actual sales? Because, connection without direction, it kind of turns you into everybody's favorite free expert, but not the one that they pay. And that's where the third shift comes in. The shift that separates the I love your post coaches from the ones waking up to Stripe cha-chings. And this is what's actually going on behind the scenes, right? So the specificity builds connection, but connection without direction, as we know, won't pay the bills. So your audience can binge your content. They can cheer you on. They can drop heart emojis all over your posts and still never pull out their wallet because you haven't guided their emotion toward a clear next step. So I call this the cold buyer flow. Okay, this is the invisible breadcrumb trail that moves someone from interesting to damn, I need this now, right? So here's a piece that you can use right away. To start guiding that connection toward a buying decision, you want to firstly shift from curiosity to conviction. So Don't just leave them thinking that's interesting, right? Help them feel in their bones that I can't stay where I am. This has to change, right? And instead of just sharing insights, call out what is at stake if they stay stuck. So, for example, not just how to communicate better, right? But maybe why the number one reason couples drift apart is unspoken resentment. Okay. Secondly, you want to flip silent objections. So address the, but what about this or what about that that's floating around in their head, right? So, for example, think you don't have time? My clients fit this in while waiting for their coffee to brew, no extra hours required, right? So that creates safety, it lowers resistance, and it clears the path to yes. And the next one is help them to feel transformation, not just hear about it. Okay? So, for example, I'll help you grow your audience by saying something like, picture waking up to dream clients sliding into your DMs asking how they can pay you even after you've checked your phone. Oh, sorry, before you even checked your phone. Sorry, my brain is not working. It's late. People are not starving for more tips. They're starving for clarity, for confidence, and that gut feeling of, holy shit, this is for me, this will work, this has been the missing piece all along. And so when you stack specificity with emotional guidance, you then become the only logical choice, not just another expert that's screaming into the feed. So, inside Cashflow Catalyst, we wire this, like I said, into your sales page, into your nurture emails, and into your offer flow so that you're not just inspiring your audience, you're moving them toward a confident yes. And when you nail this, you don't just get buyers, you get believers. People who already come to you half sold thinking, where do I sign? One of my one-to-one clients came to me saying, Sam, I've got a lot of engagement, but no sales. So we went ahead and we layered in these exact shifts into her Instagram content. And within 10 days, she closed 3K clients without a single cold DM. So that's the power of aligned content. So here's what I want you to do. Go back to your last post or email and find one moment where you could have guided the reader more clearly toward a decision. Maybe it's adding a CTA, or maybe it's addressing an objection. Maybe it's painting the what's next a little bit more vividly. Okay. And then drop in the comments, what is one place that you know that you have been holding back the invitation? Where will you start flipping connection into conversation or conversion this week? Now, you're here because you're done playing small. You're ready to elevate what is working and simplify what's messy and finally scale with intention. You're stepping off of that content hamster wheel and stepping into the CEO level leadership. From chasing clients to choosing clients, from endlessly nurturing to confidently converting, from when will they buy to waking up to Stripe pings and sold out offers. Okay, so I know that we've covered a lot today, and if your brain is buzzing with ideas thinking, yes, I need to apply this now, here is how we can keep the momentum going together. So first, if you want to keep this fire lit, circle the 3rd to 5th of June on your calendar. Okay, message to money is where we break this wide open, right? We're crafting the opt-in, the nurture, the sales page, all to move your buyers from just curious to 3K paid in full clients. It's going to be jam-packed, fun as hell, and free. Honestly, you are going to kick yourself if you miss this. But if you are sitting there, oh, hang on, let me put up, this is cute. Hang on, I was playing with this earlier. Is it this one? Yes, there we go. Message to money. There is where you can go ahead and register. Okay, so, but if you're sitting there thinking, I don't want to wait, I'm ready to fix this now, then Cash Flow Catalyst is where we get to work. All right, let me put that one up for you so you can have a look-see at that one. Oh, why is that not? Sorry, it's a bit slow. There we go. All right, so Cash Flow Catalyst is a 6-month high-touch experience where we work together to refine your offer so that it's irresistible to the right buyers. Okay, we dial in your messaging and your positioning so that you stand out. We build and optimize your evergreen sales systems so that it's working daily behind the scenes to bring in clients and cash flow. Now, this is not a cookie cutter template. Okay, it's a hands-on, roll up our sleeves kind of experience where we build a system around you, around your voice, and around your business. No fluff, no BS, just a proven path to predictable sales. And here is the crazy part. Because we're still rolling out the newest advanced trainings, you can lock in your spot right now for just $997, okay, or $197 a month, okay? You heard that right, okay? $997 for 6 months, or $197 per month for 6 months. I know. I know what you're thinking. Crazy, right? But like I said, we're rolling out the advanced trainings. Not all of the trainings are up yet, and that is the reason why it's so low. So heads up, but the price is jumping up at the end of May. So if your gut is whispering, I need this, take this as your green light, because honestly, it is wild. It's crazy that I'm offering this at this rate. But after May, the doors close on early access and pricing. So do not DM me later saying that you missed it, okay? Do not. Okay, guys. So thank you all for showing up. Thank you for playing full out. And I cannot wait to see you inside of Message to Money. And for those of you who are ready to go big inside Cash Flow to Catalyst. All right, Xavier, I see your question. I've got a couple of questions for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into YouTube now, and I will ask you some questions, and then we can try and help you. Awesome. All right, guys, have yourselves a gorgeous evening or morning or wherever you are, and I'll see you next week. Same time and same place. See you then. Be well.